Have you ever had an event or invited a bunch of people out somewhere and nobody showed up? Well, back when Mayweather was fighting, I had a party at my house. Like I paid the money on pay-per-view. That's when we had pay-per-view as an option to watch the live fights. Had dinner, everything prepared, and first round of like the pre-fight came on, and so I'm panicking, right? I'm like texting people like, where y'all at, where y'all at? Everybody's like, we're on their way. But when the fight came on, no one showed up. It was devastating. And maybe that experience is something that hasn't happened to you, but if you could imagine like showing up to an all-white party wearing black, or going to a toga party thinking that it was a costume party, so you got on a wolf or like a dinosaur costume. Like, imagine that feeling. In this video, we're decoding the parable of the wedding banquet. And I'm gonna be honest with you, this one like really convinced me. Like this is such the perfect parable to the 9-part series. So we're going to sit with this one together. So go ahead and like pull up a seat. Make sure you are ready to take on this spiritual meat, and go ahead and eat the meat and leave the bones, as my sister Danny from New Orleans would say. Because this one really determines whether you're actually really ready to receive the heaven and the blessings that you've been asking for. By the end of this decoded session, you're going to understand the saying, why many are called, but few are chosen. And you're going to make sure that you're one of the few that are chosen. This parable right here, this parable right here, this one is the master key to this whole 9-part series. Let's get into it. I'm Satra Anuket, and if you don't know by now, we're decoding parables and allegories in a way that they ain't ever taught you in church. We're decoding hidden esoteric truths in ancient text using the 7 Hermetic Principles so that you can activate your Christ consciousness through your inner waters. All right, y'all. Let's get ready. This is it, fam. This is part 9 of my 9 states of heaven. This is the final key. We've been on a journey. We have. I've enjoyed it. I hope you have. Together, we've decoded the parable of the sower, to the weeds, to the mustard seed, all the way to the parable of the vineyard. And now we have finally arrived at the banquet. By the end of this decoded session, we're going to understand why some manifestations come easy and some feel like you're pushing a boulder uphill. But more importantly, you're going to know exactly how to get dressed for your own miracle and your own abundance. Go ahead and dust your shoulders off and wipe yourself down for this one. So let's go ahead and get into this decoding. Here's the story. A king prepares a wedding feast for his son, the prince. And this isn't just any dinner. I said the king, right? So this is the celebration of the year. His son is going into divine unionship. So this is the banquet for This divine union, this wedding, this is the celebration of the year. It's going to have the best food, the best wine, the most joyous music and entertainment in all the kingdom of all the land. Everything is prepared. And all the guests have to do is show up. Imagine the invitations going out to like the show back in the day, my Super Sweet 16 party on MTV, where it's just this grand party and everybody is invited. So when the servants go out and invite these invited guests, do y'all know what happens? They shrug their shoulders. They refuse. And some of them, they like even make excuses. They're like, oh, you know what? I just bought a field. You know what I'm saying? I just bought some new property. I got to go check it out. I got other stuff to do. You know what I'm saying? Tell the king, thank you, but I'll join them next time. And others say, man, I just got this new business. I just got 5 oak, 5 oxen. I'm over here counting my coins. I need to go ahead and test this out. I just got this new car. You know what I'm saying? I was going for a drive. And some of them, they just ignore it. And then a few, they even get hostile. The nerve, can you imagine? They get mad at being invited to the king's party. So the king finds out and he's heartbroken. And then he goes through the stages of grief and then he gets furious. And he says, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and send my army in there. And he burns the entire city. Now let's just pause for a second. This story sounds like literal imagery. And we can certainly get stuck in the dramatization of this story. But I want you to actually feel and focus on the spiritual point. The people who thought they were first on the list actually weren't even ready for this grand celebration. This is where we are eating the meat and leaving the bones. So back to the story. The king throws the doors open. He says, go to the street corners, invite everyone you find, good and bad alike. Everybody is welcome to the party. And then the halls fill up. We got the misfits, the street corner workers, the naysayers, the latecomers, the ones who are considered the outcasts and the weirdos. Everybody is invited. Those who never expected to even get an invitation to such a grand party, everybody is invited. So then the king, the party is going, right? The wedding banquet everything is bomb. It's amazing. And then the king walks in. He's walking through the crowd and he stops. And he sees one man, one guest who isn't wearing any kind of wedding garment. He don't even look like he's showered. He's still like in his bummy clothes. He's like he's sticking out like a sore thumb. And then the king says, friend, how did you get here? You aren't even wearing any wedding clothes. And man, he freezes. He's speechless. And then the king had him bound and cast out. This is where Jesus drops the line. And many are called and few are chosen. One of the greatest bars that he allegedly said. But if you take this message literally, it sounds hella harsh. Like this petty king throwing somebody out after he said everybody was invited because the guy he didn't have the proper dress code. You know what I'm saying? The king is like, well, it was on the invitation. It was posted around town. You should have knew. You should have came in ready. It said to wear a wedding garment. All you got to do is show up. But that's not what we're taking as a literal interpretation. We're reading this metaphysically because we understand that we're not to take parables and allegories as literal interpretations, that it is spiritual messages that we're to understand as the Bible is a manual for our mind. So if you read this as a map of your consciousness, this parable reveals a more intimate, non-negotiable truth about manifestation. In order to do that, we got to decode the players, the ones that are living inside of you, because we play the role of every character. All the world is a stage. So let's start with the first character, the king. The king, of course, is the king consciousness, the divine mind, the king of kings, the universal law of good. It is the part of God, or whatever you call God, that is consciousness, that is always extending its invitation to you, that infinite love that is always saying, come feast, come receive, come celebrate. Everything is prepared. This is your birthright of abundance. And then the other character, the Son, this is our Christ identity, our Christ consciousness. The wedding union, which is the law of gender, is the union between your human self and your divine self. It's the moment that your will aligns with the divine will. It's the inner marriage that makes manifestation possible. As within, so without. It's the fulfilled state, the answered prayer of correspondence, the abundance of healing in your own inner and outer relationship. But understanding that comes with a feeling of the wish that you have, that you're actually embodying within your light body. So here's the thing. When we're invited to this feast, it's nothing that we have to do. We don't have to cook. We don't have to bring a dish. All we have to do is be prepared. There's no earning, no price that we had to pay to get invited to this. But the catch is that if you walk into this environment not feeling worthy and deserving of being there, then your wish is your command. You'll end up getting kicked out of your own party. And when we think about the other characters in here, the invited guests who refuse, think about like those lower states of consciousness, our old states of consciousness, those people that may still be programmed in their religion, where any idea that is outside of what they've been told, they get upset about. Or it's the part of you that is so busy that you're out here still collecting tasks and doing things, thinking that you are never ever fully ready, that you're so focused on your current problems and your lack that you'll never feel like you can embody that you're worthy of being at the party. You're so preoccupied with how it looks, how uncomfortable, and maybe you don't have the right garment, that you end up talking yourself out of even wearing a garment of feeling at all, because you're so busy focused on making a decision instead of just focusing on embodying the feeling of what it is to feel like being at that party. Not that I have too much going on, or I have this, or I'll feel like this once I can get the right thing, or I'll be grateful after this happens, once I see that money or that relationship, or once things look a certain way, then I will feel a certain way. But that's preposterous. And so the king isn't mad in this story, right? It's just understanding that you're refusing because you can't receive what you're not ready to receive. A closed fist can't catch anything. You can't receive what you're not a vibrational match and a frequency. And this is where the parable starts being personal and becomes a mirror, because the hall is full of the good and the bad and the misfits and the naysayers. And these are parts of us that we think that are past of, that are undeserving, that are unworthy of attending this experience. This is part of our history that we feel like, oh, you know what? I never fully finished school, so I don't have the education, so I'm not going to be able to do this, or this happened to me, so I'm somehow wounded and impacted by this forever, and I'm going to hang on to this part of my history, and therefore my history makes me disqualified or somehow not able and worthy, or having to not being able to enter into this party. And then we have to realize that when we do this, we are denying ourselves from grace. And grace is real, but we deny ourselves by disqualifying ourselves from our own birthright. So that man, he was missing something. He wasn't missing the invitation. He wasn't missing the date and the time of the party. He showed up. He was there. He was missing the proper clothing. He was missing his wedding garment. So the question is, what is your wedding garment? Fill in the blank. Is your wedding garment your undeservingness? So therefore you can't feel. Is your wedding garment an old tattered clothing, a string from the past that you just don't want to take off? The wedding garment is your vibrational state, the consciousness that you are wearing when you walk into the feast. You cannot walk into a feast of abundance wearing lags of rack. You can't walk into health while still crutching on to sickness. Mental health while still crutching on to mental sickness. Also physical health while still crutching on to physical sickness. You can't strive for having physical health while still crutching on to physical things that cause you physical harm. Therefore, when you think about this ultimate feast, this heaven, this celebration, this is joy. This is bathing in so much joy. You cannot celebrate and be in the banquet of joy while you're bathing in the vibration of resentment or lack or insecurity, and say that you have confidence. It's incoherent. And so this garment that we are to wear, it has two distinct threads that it is woven from. And why two threads? Well, this parable of the wedding banquet represents a vibrational state required to enter into the feast. This is the story. The garment in this parable of the wedding banquet represents our vibrational state that is required to enter into this feast. This is the alignment between your world and the reality that you've been asking to experience. And the reason is because alignment is never one-dimensional, especially when we're talking about the laws. 4 of the laws are dual in nature. So it requires a level of balance, especially when we're thinking about the law of correspondence, which comes after the law of vibration. So it requires both a vertical connection to your divine truth through your words. your thought. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. So we understand that consciousness is the first law, which is written in the Bible, and that's also the first Hermetic principle. So you're connected with the divine, the King, through your words. And this is your connection. And the horizontal, your cross, is your connection to others through your heart. And your tongue is an organ that is directly connected and comes from your heart. So out of the mouth comes your desires of your heart through your words. Therefore, like metaphysics, like Florence Scovel-Shin, who said, like, your word is your wand. And like even in the Bible, God speaks creation into being. And if we're made in God's likeness and image, this means that your words carry the creative power and potency that is the same as God, that is scaled to your level of consciousness that is connected to the divine. So if you speak lack, you cannot experience abundance. If you speak fear, you cannot experience peace. The law is impersonal and is literal through the thread that is woven through your throat. And that's the power of expression and declaration and self-definition that you vibrate and that you feel within your heart. And your heart has a strong and powerful electromagnetic frequency that vibrates like up to 6 feet outside of us. So when we say something, if we don't actually feel it, then it's not going to vibrate out. That's the incoherence. We understand that a word carries a vibrational frequency. And so within this thread, your garment has no structure. You can't voice one thing and expect a different vibrational frequency. The law has no choice to deliver what that actually is resonating at, what you're actually speaking within your heart. The word is vibrating and woven through the throat chakra, through the center expression of truth by self-definition, and reaches down to our heart. So we have to make sure that channel, that connection is clear. And let's look at thread 2. Oh man, thread 2, y'all. Forgiveness and love is the heart's vibrational tuning fork. It's one that we really, really, really have to understand, because this is a way for us to address our vibrational state. We cannot receive what we are not a vibrational match to, that we are not aligning to. And if we momentarily align with it, we cannot maintain and sustain it if we're not consistently vibrating at that frequency. So in this story, the man who got kicked out of the party by the king, he wasn't kicked out because he was wicked or that he wasn't invited. He was kicked out because he wasn't wearing the right garment. The king didn't say, "You're unworthy, you're not supposed to be here." He simply observed his vibrational frequency of which he was wearing, his clothes, and said, "Your vibration doesn't match the room." It's law being impersonal and just acting in accordance to nature and putting things in its right place. Only divine things exist here. You need to go out there. The law didn't judge him, it just simply responded. So when it comes to forgiveness, when we think about the center of love and compassion and emotional integrity, forgiveness is not about letting somebody else off the hook. What they did could have been absolutely and horribly wrong. Absolutely. But forgiveness is about letting yourself off the hook. every resentment and past and old string that you hold on to is like a thread of your past, of these tattered clothes that you're trying to leave behind, but you can't even put on this new garment because you're dragging on to this old thread. And you're wondering what's off about these new clothes that you have and what smells in your life. Something's familiar, so you ignore it. But without letting go of this thread, your garment has no texture, no warmth, no life. You could speak all the right words. You could have half of it all the way on. But if your heart is still holding on to these old wounds, these old threads, your vibration is split and you look a little crazy. Your vibration is split and you're broadcasting all kind of different frequencies. And the law cannot deliver you a feast when you out here looking crazy like that. And so this is where teaching gets a little uncomfortable, y'all. Because true forgiveness means forgiving the person who isn't sorry, who doesn't give a fuck about what they did to you. Them repenting or giving you your apology is not required for your freedom. So we have to forgive the person who hurt us because their behavior to what happened to us is not the point. And yes, you forgive the person who died before you could even confront them, because your closure doesn't come from them and their mortality or their immortality. Your closure comes from you. Your closure comes from you. So you forgive the person who did you wrong. No matter how fucked up it was, you release all of the emotional charge that that situation had over you. Why? Why is this so important? Why do all the great teachers in metaphysics and mystics talk about forgiveness so much? Because it comes back down to the garment of praise, the garment of whatever it is that you want to call it. And that garment doesn't care about justice. It cares about vibration. And here's a funny thing. A person could have very well have apologized and said whatever you wanted, whatever form of apology it was that they were able to give and explain or give you their version of their truth. And you could still be vibrating in resentment and feeling like that wasn't enough, that they didn't say it in a certain way. But please do remember, if you say that you forgive them and you still are holding on to that resentment cannot sit at the table and at the feast of peace. So I want to take a moment and get into the Aramaic teaching of forgiveness. In Aramaic, the word to forgive is shabak, which means to unite, to release, to let go. It means that you are untying the knot on your own energy field. And that person may never know because they don't see it. They're never going to know what your energy field is. But you know, because you can suddenly breathe. You can see and feel clearly. You feel a little different. And that's how you know that you've let go. So you have to have the two threads within the garment, the right word, the right heart. And when both are woven together, it's complete and you're wearing the right garment and the feast is accessible. When we think about the deeper symbolic meaning of the wedding banquet, it's a alchemical marriage. It represents polarity. It represents the balance of it. It represents the law of gender, the masculine and feminine, the active and the receiving, the word and the feeling, the throat and the heart, the logos, the word, and the eros, the love. This is the two threads that are making up the garment, the balance. And when these two threads are woven together, they become the garment. That's the alchemical marriage. The hieros gamos, the philosopher's stone, the holy grail. The union of all of the opposites within yourself, the moment that you accept all of you is welcome here and you wear it. The alchemical wedding is the weaving. The man, without wearing the proper garment, he just hadn't done the inner weaving yet. He showed up with a split consciousness, holding on to his old limited state of mind, wanting the feast, but still vibrating in the field of grievance or rehearsing whatever. I don't know what he was going through, but it just wasn't in alignment. That's our fill in the blank for whatever we're going through that doesn't get us into alignment. The feast was ready. The king was waiting. And the man couldn't even stay there because he wasn't actually there. Think about that. The man was there, but he couldn't stay there because he wasn't actually there. He was vibrationally stuck in another dimension, in an old world, in an old state of consciousness. And the law being impersonal but perfect, because the law can't even break the law, had to cast out what wasn't in harmony, what wasn't in balance, and put things in its right place. The law didn't punish him. It simply reflected what he was wearing. It's physics. So the deeper question is, how do you know when you're wearing it? You know that you're wearing your garment when you can speak your desire without feeling lack, without feeling like you're unworthy of your desire. You can name what happened to you in the past. You can name that hurt without actually feeling it. You see the blessing and the lesson in it, and you're grateful for that experience and the strength and what you gain from it. You don't feel that sting anymore. You can pray for peace and feel peace while still sitting in chaos, but not feel panic. You understand what it means to have peace and be still and know that you are God. You can affirm abundance without looking at your empty bank account and feeling despair, because you're wearing the garment of knowing that God, universe, is everywhere. That rhymes. I can't help it. I'm a poet too. So when we think about knowing and fully knowing, it's a feeling that happens when these moments come up, because it's letting us know that we are in alignment with what it is, and that our woven threads, our heart and our mind are as one. Because what you speak, what you feel, is what you attract, and what you attract is what you live. As a man thinketh, so is he. So here's one thing that we really got to ask ourselves. What if we're asking for something, but we're not actually wearing and embodying the feeling of it? What if we're not actually embodying the light body like we think we are? What if we've been asking for love, but we're still secretly holding on to those old rags of hurt instead of letting those threads go? What if we've been asking for peace, but we're still rehearsing grievances in our head and we're kept in our own mental prison, when really nobody is stopping us from having our own inner peace? But we're in a state of constant chaos and war within our minds. So it comes without. And the law, being impersonal, doesn't know which to honor, so it gives us a split result. A life of near missed. Almost there, you got it, but you couldn't keep it. And somehow something happened and it got ruined. Why isn't this working anymore? Why do I suddenly have this confusion? Why does this alignment somehow become mis and disalignment? I showed up, the feast was ready. You got the invitation in your hand. You saw what the dress code was on the flyer. But many are called and few are chosen. Not because God is picking favorites, because few are willing to get dressed. Few are willing to be chosen, because you have to choose yourself. Don't put any other gods before you. And those chosen ones are the ones who simply put on the garment, the feeling, because they did the inner work. They aligned with the vibration that they desire. And they don't play about themselves. So that's it. That's the final key, fam. With all the parables that we've gone through, from 1 through 9, none of it can manifest in your lived reality until you actually put on the garment, until you actually put on the feeling and vibrate at the frequency of the feast. The king in this story, he didn't invite everyone and open the doors for everyone because, he thought that that everybody could afford this physical garment, right? He knew that everybody was invited. He invited everybody because everybody was his people. He accepted all parts of it. It's the response to the invitation that you take. It's you saying that I am ready for what is mine. I was invited, and yes, I deserve to be here. The only question is are you willing to weave your thread? Not tomorrow, not when you feel like you're worthy, not when you've gathered more evidence. Now, forgive, speak, align, and walk in it now. The garment is waiting, and you look fly as fuck in it too. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to go ahead and give you these practical steps on how you put on the wedding garment. How do I even put on these feelings? Y'all know I got some pearls for you. So step 1, if you don't know it by now, forgive. Forgive everybody. I mean it. Everybody, the person who hurt you physically, mentally, emotionally. I don't care how they hurt you, what they promise you, especially that covert narcissist that you dated. The one that you felt like you put in all this time and energy into, these years, money, whatever. I don't care. You need to stop owning that old hurt and start letting it drain your life force. It's not about the person owing you. Matter of fact, nobody owes you shit. I said it. Nobody owes you shit. You owe everything to yourself. That person that you're still talking about, thinking about, they're not talking and thinking about you. They've gone on with their life. They've found somebody else to abuse. They're continuing to circulate that karma. They're continuing to attract their victims. It's a part of the cycle of life. And so your forgiveness is not about them or what they're doing or what other situation they've gotten themselves into. It's not your life, your journey, your path. That part of your experience is over. You don't have to put on those dirty clothes anymore. Take them off. Do it now. Say it out loud. I forgive whatever their name is. I release them. I give that wound back into the divine universe. I send it back into the void of absolute nothingness. I am free and I am here now. Step 2, feel gratitude. Feel the gratitude before the evidence. This is the embroidery of your garment. Start feeling thankful for your answered prayer right now before you see it. Feel it. Feel the relief. Feel the joy. Feel the peace. Feel the love. Your body consciousness doesn't know the difference between your vividly imagination experiences or a real one. That's how your vividly imagined memories of your past can cause you to feel real emotions right now in the moment. So when you feel gratitude, you're putting on the garment. Step 3, speak only what matches the feast, only what aligns to the consciousness of your Christ consciousness. So this is a task for everyone. Step 3 is a little bit of a homework assignment, y'all. For the next 24 hours, I want to invite you, just join into this challenge. Every time you're about to complain, gossip, or describe a problem that is happening in your life, I don't care what the problem is, stop. Just stop. Just don't even talk about it. Flip it and reverse it. Change the narrative. Speak the truth and the life over that situation. The feast of what you want to see. Dang, I just looked at my bank account. Nope. I am wealthy. I am abundant. I am healthy. I am whole. I am loved. I am at peace. Just start focusing on all of the positives. Flip it to the other side of the pole of polarity that you want to focus on. And even if it feels a little untrue and uncomfortable at first, I get it. It's, yes, you could get there feeling uncomfortable. Especially then, because your job, your part is to only tune into and correspond with the God in you, to correspond with the frequency of God in you. This is mastering the law of correspondence. Step 4, check your vibration at the door. And check your vibration before you pray. Not religious prayer in a sense. When you actually correspond with the inner chambers of your mind to connect with your subconscious mind, to connect with your God, when you take your Christ consciousness and go in the closet and talk to the God within you, before you tell your God self anything, ask yourself, what am I wearing right now? How am I feeling? Am I wearing worry? Am I about to have this conversation that's based in worry? Is it going to be based in praise? Is it based in solutions? I remember when I first got into medical devices, and every time I went to my manager, he would ask me, he said, are you coming at me with the problem? Or are you coming at me with the solution that you've thought about with your problem? Because if you're only going to talk about your problem without a solution, then I need you to go and come back before you call me. And some may feel like this is a rude way, right? A rude behavior to talk to somebody. But there was a strength being built in that experience because it caused me to get dressed in the throne of a solution before I even approached the situation and talked about the problem. So it put me in the throne of my higher self. And that's how I was able to get past situations without eventually having even to go ask my manager, because I was smart enough to know that I had the truth within me. And the same is applied to anything in life, because we are the seed. And guess what? A seed has everything that it needs. So this is the best news that we can hear all day. We've already been invited to the wedding banquet, to the divine union, to heaven by our birthright. The King didn't give us the invitation because we were perfect. He sent it because we are his people. And he prepared the feast because he knew that we were going to be hungry when we got there. The table was set, the music is playing, all the entertainment was there. The only question is, are you going to put on the right garment and walk in and feel deserving and worthy of it? Not next week, not after you fix everything, not when you feel more worthy. Right now, are you going to feel and take this moment to choose to forgive, to walk in, to feel grateful, to choose to speak life over yourself, to finally stop wearing these old garments, to choose to get dressed in the right ones? So go ahead, put on that right garment. You look amazing in it. And as we close out, I want to share something with you all that's been on my mind for quite some time now. It's really something that I can no longer ignore when it comes to decoding the Bible. We are working with 66 books out of 6,000 that were originally written. And so my decoded sessions were never intended to have Bible study, church, nor appeal to Christians or people that are caught up in religion and take the Bible literally. My intent is to show you that this book is metaphysical and it has hidden codes in it. And within these esoteric codes are the laws, which are so universal and so foundational that they even survived a watered down, curated, pure, politically redacted text. And even after all the redactions, the redactions like the Epstein files, the truth is still there, because you cannot erase law. You cannot hide the sun. It'll eventually come out. You cannot hide the sun forever. It'll eventually come out. You can only hide it for a little bit, partially. So when it comes to decoding these 66 books, I like to compare it to like walking into a library thinking that you got access to the whole library and 99% of the shelves have been removed and someone hands you a curated stack of books. That's never going to give you the full picture of the whole library. It's a fragment designed to look like the whole in a shell that's empty. However, when it comes to the laws, they through and through, they all throughout that bitch. No matter how much they were watered down in this ancient symbolic text. So when it comes to the Bible, we must understand that we've only been given fragments, and for far too long, we've treated fragments as if they were the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help us God. I swear on the Bible. What? So I've come to the reality within myself, my higher self is like, nah, we are no longer interested in decoding what has been handed down to translate what others have wrote. Something is different is being birthed inside of you, Ra. You're not here to spend your time translating a curated collection of work that was written hundreds of years after the so-called events and people that allegedly lived and try to call it as full truth. That's not liberation. That's not liberating your mind or anyone. That's just rearranging the cage and changing how it looks, but it's still a cage. You can't redress organized religion and call it spirituality. I'm interested in the living truth. I believe in the living truth, the one that speaks through me, not just in a book. It's about awakening the laws, unlocking that genetic code that lives through all of us, not just me. And somehow, through the Council of Nicaea, someone wanted you to look at God in the sky instead of looking within, and allowing this God in the sky to allegedly justify a person's internal and own bad choices, so you can place the blame on God, or say that God told you to do it, or the devil made you do it. And that's not true work. That's not self-accountability. So this is my last decoded video of the Bible. And I actually did decode the book of Revelations, but I'm not gonna post it because to be honest with y'all, it's a bit anticlimactic. As deep as people try to make Revelations out to be, like just from what I've currently decoded, maybe I'll look at it again in different eyes at another point in my life, but it's our own internal involution and evolution of our realization and how that looks in us. And we'll never know how that looks until we actually feel, embody, and allow ourselves to go through that process. And so I'm good. Like, I'm done decoding these 66 books. Not because I've abandoned the work, but because the work, my work, has evolved. And I'm excited. I don't know what that's going to look like, but I trust the Creator, and I trust my connection within me. And I am stepping fully into the goddess that I actually am, the spiritual writer, the revealer, the teacher of hidden truths, of scripts and ancient texts that people may have thought was burned thousands of years ago, and to create text that hasn't been written yet. My role isn't to repeat what others have already said or written. I'm here to channel what hasn't been spoken or written yet in something that artificial intelligence cannot create, because we are original intelligence, and it's time to tap into our own being. Instead of asking AI prompts, ask your OI prompts, your supercomputer prompts. It's another decoy into thinking that you don't have the answers within. Now, I'm not saying AI isn't a tool. It absolutely is a tool to help you refine. It's another thought. It's like getting a second opinion. So we have the map, we have the basic instructions for life, we have the manual for your mind. But it's time to drive. We are done looking at the map. We're walking out onto the road now. We're getting onto these uncharted territories, y'all. We're stepping into newness. So, till next time, y'all, peace, be well. I'll catch y'all in the next video.